From Andover, Massachusetts, J. Sherman. One incredible fact about him that I didn't know, probably you didn't know either. He has run 9 triathlons so far. So incredible.
Thank you. As many of you may know, and I'm sure many of you don't know, I don't drink. And if you had known me 3 or 4 years ago, you would probably be shocked to discover that I quit drinking. Since I quit, I've actively avoided talking about why I quit. When I came to Sloan, I think I would have been totally fine if I knew I'd be known as the sales guy or the 58240 music video guy. But I didn't want to be known as the alcoholic. I've realized that my experience with alcohol and the experience of going through quitting plays a big role in who I am today and how I operate. By hiding that part of my story, I've been hiding a big part of who I am. And that changes tonight.
Woo!
Thank you. From when I first started drinking, junior year in high school, alcohol and I just didn't mix well. I was always drinking not just to get drunk, but always drinking to get hammered. I was always the drunkest guy at the party. I was always doing stupid stuff that I regretted and was apologizing for. But for a long time, I was able to keep that separate. I kind of lived this dichotomy where there was the drunken, sloppy buffoon, and then on the other side, I had my shit together. Academically and professionally, I got good grades, graduated with honors, went out, got a job, went from sales rep to sales manager to business owner in a year out of college, moved out to California to open a business, was making 25 to 30 grand a month by the time I turned 25. It was pretty awesome. But at the same time, as business was getting good, I was starting to drink more and more. But because I had kind of a team in place, it was running itself, but was still able to keep it from really affecting the rest of my life. At the end of 2008, early 2009, my business collapsed. And I think I was, with the way that I drank, I was always, I think, bound. I was on this path to become an alcoholic. But I think maybe without this, it would have been 5, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. When my business collapsed, and with the way I reacted, it rapidly accelerated my downward spiral into alcoholism. Within a few years, by 2011, I was drinking, getting hammered 6, 7 nights a week. And not just nights, weekends, where every single weekend was a shit show. From the time I got out of work until I passed out on Sunday night, I was completely hammered every weekend. And essentially every moment of my life was in some way under the influence of alcohol, because at any given moment, I was either hungover, drunk, or drinking my way out of a hangover on the way to getting drunk again. And it was affecting everything. Relationships with friends, my family. I was, for the most part, able to keep a lot of this hidden from my family, from my parents especially, but they certainly were noticing and starting to get concerned. It's affecting my relationship with my business partner. At that point, had started another business. Business itself was suffering. My health was suffering. And I was miserable. I kept, every now and then I would think, I need to change things. And if I was really honest with myself, I would think, I'm going to have to quit. But for a long time, I told myself I didn't have to quit yet. I was still too young. At this point, I was 28, 29. It's too young to quit alcohol for the rest of my life. It's a big part of my life. How can I have fun without alcohol? So I just kept saying, okay, I'm going to have to do something about this, but not yet. Summer of 2012, I was starting to get fed up just with being miserable and feeling physically the way I felt. So I decided I had to take a little break. I took a couple nights off. I slept 15 total minutes over those 2 nights. It had gotten to the point that I couldn't even sleep without alcohol. I couldn't sleep without passing out. And after the next day, after that second night, I honestly thought I was going to die. And this is after years of having terrible, terrible hangovers. I had never felt like this. I was legitimately concerned that I would die. I went to the doctor just so I could get Ambien, so I could fall asleep and keep doing what I was doing. I went to the doctor. He did give me Ambien. But he also took some tests. And my blood pressure, my cholesterol, everything was completely out of whack, especially for someone my age. And my liver enzyme levels showed that I had developed fatty liver tissue and was essentially a couple steps away from cirrhosis. But even that wasn't enough to get me to stop. Fortunately, that doctor kept pestering me. And eventually I decided, okay, I need to do something about this. I'm going to try to quit. So I decided to finish the last 3 months of 2012 sober. So October, 30 days sober. And on October 31st, I had 1 drink. That led to a 3-day bender. I reset, did 28 days in November. And then I had a 10-day bender. And I gave up. It was too hard. I couldn't quit. I went right back into my old habits. And that lasted basically through the end of January. So January 31st, 2013, it was Friday. My business partner was out of the office. I said, you know what, I'm going to have some drinks with lunch. I went down, got drunk by myself at lunch, came back to the office, got a bottle on the way back to the office, got hammered at the office, drove home, and had just another complete shit show of a weekend. At this point, my roommate had started getting concerned. She'd been concerned for a while, but she reached her breaking point, reached out to my mother. My father came down, staged an intervention. And to be honest, I just kind of told him what he needed to hear. I told him I was going to quit, but they were empty promises. Monday morning, I got in my car to go to work. As I'm starting my car, I see a slip of paper on the passenger seat. Pick it up, and it's a citation. That's when I remembered I'd gotten pulled over on my drive home from work on Friday night. I could barely even remember the details. I could barely even remember the conversation with the police officer. But I pieced together that I was right down the street from my house. I was kind of reaching out the window, pointing to how closely I lived, and somehow talked my way out of it, got out of it with a warning. And at this point, I had talked myself out of so many situations. I had caught so many lucky breaks. But after everything that had happened that weekend, and everything leading up to that, it hit me that if I didn't quit, I would end up in jail or dead. It was a turning point for me because that's when I actually, for the first time, wanted to change more than I wanted to stay the same. And when I say that, I mean wanted to change fully, maybe not fully understanding, but understanding what it was going to take to quit. Because I tried and I'd failed. It was hard, but staying the same was easy. Even though I was miserable, at least I knew what that misery was. But finally, I was just fed up and I wanted that change more than anything. And so I went for it. I started a program called Self-Management and Recovery Training. Went to meetings every week, learned some mental exercises there that actually helped me get through temptations. I basically, anytime I had the thought of, I want to drink, I couldn't think about anything until I actually had that drink. And that's what the temptation was. It was an irresistible temptation. And going through all these mental exercises actually helped me to, I think, reform the neurological pathways so that it's gotten to the point today where if it ever does occur to me that I want to drink, which it rarely even does, it doesn't even get to develop into a temptation because my immediate reaction is, that's a terrible idea. And I did a couple other things to get through temptations and get where I am today. One of which was smoking marijuana. So, my sobriety does come with a little caveat. The other big one for me was exercise. I became addicted to exercise. And it was amazing how doing something so good for you, or for me, could get me through something that was so bad for me. And as I got healthier and regained mental clarity, everything else started to come into place. Business got better. I started talking to my business partner about my dreams of going to business school. And I started transitioning all my daily responsibilities to employees. I worked my ass off applying to school. Worked on applications for 3 months. Got into Sloan. Successfully transitioned out. Sold my half of the business to my business partner. Came here to Sloan. And I can say that here at Sloan I've met the most amazing group of people I've ever encountered in my life. I've gotten more done in a year and a half than I've ever gotten done in 3 years. And I'm happier than I've ever been. That all leads me to ask the question of, who am I? Well, I am the sales guy. I am the 58240 music video guy. I am someone who wants to get the most out of every single day because I've wasted years of my life and I will never let that happen again. I'm a dancer. Not as good of a dancer as Jeremy, but an energetic dancer. I like to whip, and I like to name it. I'm a peanut butter cup eating, innovatively leading, life crushing, badass motherfucker. I'm also a recovered alcoholic. And I am really proud of that. Thank you.